Hello everybody, Denobi2 here. Thank you for joining me once again on another audio tour podcast, Denobi2 style. Joining me once again is my buddy John, all the way from the East Coast. He's in Atlanta right now. John, speak up.
How are you out there, Denobi? How you doing? How are you collectors? Let's get on with this.
we have a lot to talk and bitch about, don't we?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
I thought it was only fair and fitting for the audience to get our opinions on Jabba Sail Barge, Part 2. Why not?
Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's break this open now. Let's do it.
Holy shit. The campaign was a big friggin' success.
In the final hours, right? Am I right?
The final hours, dude, it hit its 5,000 goal 4 days early. 4 days early, it hit its 5,000. In the last several hours, it picked up over 1,000 pre-orders. Final total, amazing. Final total, close to 9,000 pre-orders. 8,810 is the final count. 8,810. So close to 9,000. I had no idea.
Me neither. I was with you. I don't know.
Apparently a lot of people out there thought the same thing. Holy shit.
and it's a good thing because it just shows you that people are still interested in Star Wars vehicles.
Well, this campaign seems to prove a lot. It broke all stereotype molds, didn't it? I mean,
well, we talked about this. Was it a good test? Kind of no, because in the middle you don't throw in yak face.
Yes.
And can you say that everything went as it was because of the yak face? Well, it was a good contributor.
I told you early on, when it hit its 5,000 goal 4 days early, I sent you a message and I said, yak face saved the campaign. But I'm going to kind of retract that because it broke 8,000 pre-orders. I think yak face helped, but I think a lot of collectors in the community saw the big picture. I really do.
Yeah, it could have been. It could have been a lot of people waited towards the end. A lot of people got their income tax back. A lot of people were saving. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was a combination. Maybe people were just watching people on YouTube, reviews on Facebook, and just said, you know what, I'm going to definitely get it.
So do you think social media helped and contributed to the success? Because I kind of feel it did.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
It did. And it was just a thrown into the face of all these haters out there that didn't want it coming out.
Yeah.
They didn't want to see it. I think a lot of these haters have hate for a lot of things, and I think they just wanted it to fail, and guess what? It didn't.
Well, for you folks listening out there, what me and John are referencing to is there's several YouTubers out there that had their own personal, crusade to see the Jabba Sail Barge campaign fail. And I'm going to call him out right now. I think the biggest hater out there was Michael from Retro Blaster. From Blastin'. I really do. I honestly thought he was the biggest hater in the toy collecting community, specifically in the 3 3/4 inch scale in Star Wars. A lot of folks have respect for him, and the fact that he personally went out of his way, his own little personal crusade, in my opinion, to see the campaign fail. I really do. The other one was World Class Bullshitters, where he specifically, on several occasions in his show, insisted that collectors did not like collecting Star Wars merchandise, and I always said it was always Hasbro. To me, it was always Hasbro always failed at managing their property. But the fact that that a lot of him and several others insisted that this campaign would not be a success kind of shows you that they really don't know their audience or the community as well as they thought they did.
Here's the thing about the haters. Okay, a lot of people hate this, how Disney is doing Star Wars. They hate The Last Jedi, and then they take that hate and take it to everything. You know, and then when you talk to them, they're like, oh, well, we like the original trilogy and we love Star Wars before Disney. Okay, that's great. Well, this piece is a piece before Disney.
Yes.
It's a part of the classic trilogy. Yet you're using your hate for Disney to go against this.
Everything.
And it's kind of, it's kind of, you know, haters out there. And there's a bunch here, and you're probably watching this. I don't like the Disney films. I don't know. I think you do, right?
I enjoyed The Last Jedi. But again, just because I enjoyed The Last Jedi does not mean I support the merchandise that follows it.
Exactly. And on my view, I don't like the Disney movies, but that doesn't mean I have hate for the original trilogy.
Yes.
Because to me, a lot of the memories were done through that original trilogy. I was a big EU follower. I still am. I like the expanded universe. So for me, that's where Star Wars cuts off. You know, the Star Wars, the Disney movies are good, but I don't consider them part of my canon. If that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. Yes.
Yeah, but getting back to Hasbro, what they release, yeah, it is crap. The newest stuff is crap. The Black Series, it is all crap. But when you go back to vintage, what people love, and still have hate for that, that's horrible. That just shows you're just using your hatred on something that
influence,
you shouldn't even have.
Your negative influence, yes.
Yes. Your negativity, yes. And you know, like I said, I like retro blasting and I like Michael. You know, and everyone has their own opinion.
True.
World class bullshitters, same thing. Everyone has their own opinion. But you can't let other things sway that opinion. You know, and we had a Kickstarter program, what they call the Kickstarter program or whatever, and Hasbro succeeded. And, you know, this might be something really good, and they don't realize that, and they don't throw that in there.
No, they never saw the big picture. And that was always my argument. They never saw the big picture. And I don't disagree with world-class bullshitters as far as the level of crap that Hasbro has pumped out for Rogue One, that's pumped out for the Last Jedi. Even the solo merchandise looks like crap. But the Sail Barge is classic trilogy. It is a league in its own. And that was my biggest issue. The fact that they took this specific piece of collectability, because it is in my opinion, I'm going to still say it, I think it is still a holy grail, because I honestly believe Hasbro has not deceived anybody. They have been very upfront with this campaign from the very beginning. They're only going to make what is pre-ordered, and that is it.
Right.
That's it.
I agree with you there. I don't think you'll like we talked about this before. I don't think it'll be made unless it's in another film that they redid it or rechanged it. Then you might get a version 2.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, we'll have to see how the other films go. But getting back to the hate, yeah, just, you know, if you don't like something, then you don't like something, and that's your opinion. That's your view. But you can't sway other people to be using that evil to hate. You know what I'm saying? You can't use it, and especially in the Star Wars universe. You know, they're going back to something that's really good, and the Sail Barge is really good. You know, it's great for your vintage line of figures. It's going to look great. You know, come on. If you don't like a Kickstarter program, okay, that's your concern. But you just don't have to sway it. And there was a lot of good YouTubers that actually passed the word on it that were good.
Yes. No, you're right. There were several. I know Victoria's Cantina did a piece on it, and she showed some positive points on it. And again, you know, the campaign does have its ups and it does have its downs. But my one issue I really had is that the fact that you assumed that it would fail because you didn't like it. Because you felt, it was Hasbro, a company. How dare they make money? How dare they, force this upon the public without understanding the big picture, without understanding how retail works, without understanding that a 5-foot wide box cannot fit in most retail stores. The only one that probably could have handled it was Toys R Us. Well, you know what? They're dead.
Yes.
Toys R Us is dead. And what they don't talk about in their videos was that Hasbro, Toys R Us owed Hasbro a lot of money, millions in debt, right? So the fact that they're making Hasbro out like the bad guy, which again, I have my personal issues with Hasbro Star Wars. I personally do not think they've managed the property very well in the last 5-6 years. I think they've done a real shitty job at doing it. I really, really do. They brought me back in. They brought me back into this world. They did. They wooed me with the sail barge. I ditched them. I ditched Star Wars Hasbro.
Hasbro went out of style. Hasbro not went out of style, but Hasbro started getting shitty ever since they got rid of the first vintage collection. When it went to Black Series, and then they got the 6-inch, and then they went back to 5 points of articulation, that's when Hasbro went down the tubes.
Absolutely.
It went down the tubes. And like I said, they can, you said the solo stuff looks like crap. The idea of them having real face scan technology with the digital painting, it looks good. It really does look good. But here's the kicker. The rest of the figure is just a solid repaint. When you go and see that solo figure on the shelf, from the neck down, it's just reuse. Yes, the head looks great. The Aldenreich head looks great. Even the Kira head looks great. Even the Lando head looks great.
Now, be specific though, John. You're talking about the 6-inch, right?
The 6-inch, yes.
Okay. I was referring to the smaller scale.
Well, I haven't seen any of the smaller solo stuff yet because that's the only thing that's out. Target's released them early. Okay. So that's all I'm looking at. I don't see small. I don't even know if they're doing small. Okay. Because I know the figures are supposed to be released April 13th?
April 13th. Yeah.
And I know they're in the vintage line.
Yeah.
I know Solo's in that second wave of vintage.
Yeah.
But I don't know how they look compared to the big ones.
Yeah, and just to clarify to the audience, just to kind of pause you there, I was referring to the 5 points of articulation from Rogue One, The Last Jedi. That's what I meant. The Black Series 6-inch, they are a little bit different. It is a different category. So that's what I was referring to.
Yeah. But see, people don't realize this too. Hasbro tried to do something to gauge people, to give them a litmus test of what they wanted. And I think with this being the sail bars, it was something that they said, do people still have hearts for vehicles and large vehicles and play sets? And they got their answer. Mm-hmm. Far be it to say that when you throw in another figure halfway through, it really doesn't make the test accurate. But seeing as we see, people still love classic
yes
things.
Classic trilogy. And you're right. And for the folks that are listening in, what John is referring to is that halfway in the campaign they altered their deal.
Right.
They did.
Yes, they did. They altered their deal.
They altered their deal by including a special limited edition 1985 reproduction yak face, which made a lot of collectors' mouths salivate and water, and there was a big spike in pre-orders. And to be fair, let's play devil's advocate. When World Class Bullshitters and Retro Blasted did their piece opinions, yak face had not been announced yet.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, play devil's advocate. We'll be fair. All right. Mm-hmm. Would that have altered their opinions? We don't know. We don't know. But again, most true collectors, right? Mm-hmm. we saw the big picture. I did. I pre-ordered it several days after it. I saw what this could be. I saw where this could lead. I always saw the big picture from the very beginning. What doors this can open up. Because again, for the audience listening, I purged Hasbro Star Wars. Again, it's Hasbro Star Wars merchandise that has lagged. Star Wars merchandise in general is still somewhat successful. It's still successful in SH Fig Arts and Hot Toys and other venues, right?
And people don't bring that out when they do these podcasts.
You're right.
They say, oh, Star Wars is failing. Star Wars Hasbro is failing.
It's Star Wars Hasbro that has failed, or failing, or whichever word you feel comfortable with. But Star Wars merchandise is still very lucrative. It still does really well. And that's one of the things that I think world-class bullshitters always neglected to bring up. A lot of them attacked the price point of $500. It is a lot of money. I 100% agree. But they never explained to you
shipping and handling.
The shipping and handling, the size of the box, cost of inflation. A lot of people still are hard on that Legacy Falcon that was released 10 years ago at a sticker price of close to $200. I remember the sticker price. It's close to $200. 10 years ago, when the economy was a lot different, we had a different president.
And what people have to remember, too, and what these people have to remember is back in the 90s, when we had the Star Wars boom, there was only one company that had the major license, and that was Hasbro.
Yeah.
I mean, if you really think about it now, on an average person, and I'm not throwing anything out there to the listeners, I mean, an average person that lives, works, goes out to their Walmarts and Targets, goes out and spends money. You're not going to find an SH Figure Arts figure on the shelf.
No.
You're not going to find a Hot Toys figure on the shelf unless you go to comic shops. So for you, Hasbro is the major collector. It's the major producer of Star Wars like it was in the 90s.
Yes.
But now you have options. You have SH Figure Arts. You have Tamashii Nations. You have Hot Toys. You have Sideshow Collectibles that you can only get on their websites.
That's correct.
You're open to more.
Yes.
So with that being said, when you put it as a whole as Star Wars merchandise, you can't say it. You can't say that it's failing because people are still running out for Hot Toys. I mean, that Obi-Wan was phenomenal looking. That one that Hot Toys just produced.
Oh my God, I mean, that was just the Obi-Wan from Revenge of the Sith that just went into pre-order. It is a phenomenal piece. It looks phenomenal. You're right.
Yes. Yeah,
right.
and that's a prequel. That's a prequel figure, but still, people are going to salivate over that, and I think that's going to be one that sells out fast.
Absolutely.
It's going to. Yeah.
We also talked about something a week or so ago that when the Legacy Millennium Falcon was released 10 years ago, Disney did not own Star Wars back then.
No, it didn't.
It was a different licensing. It was a different deal that was altered.
Yes.
Yes.
No, it was, like you said, it was a different Hasbro had it, right? But Hasbro
the license was still controlled by Lucasfilm independently. Right. And then Disney came and acquired Lucasfilm into their library, into their IP. They purchased the IP, the intellectual property. So Disney became the new parent owner. They became the new owners. So the licensing agreement, which was changed in 2013, you folks can Google this. The deal, it turned into a royalty, meaning that for every certain merchandise that gets sold, Hasbro, not only on top of the license, also has to pay royalty fees. I don't know what those royalty fees are, but Hasbro has to pay a lot more. The license is a lot more expensive. And again, you folks can Google this. This happened in 2013. So things are different, So the fact that a lot of us still want to live in the past and the Falcon, we only pay $200. Well, things are different now. Yes, the sail barge is not cheap. It is what it is. But the collectors spoke out, John. I mean,
yes.
9,000. I had no idea. I told you. If it breaks 5,000, it's a miracle. It's a Christmas miracle.
Yeah.
You know,
And it's good to see. It's good to see because now you want to know what's going to happen going forward.
Going forward now, let's segue. Enough of this. The campaign is a success. The vintage line is back, better than ever. Most people do not enjoy sequels. What do you think we should see? The vintage is back.
Well,
it's hot shit now.
Here's the thing. Vintage is back, and it's great that it is back. What we need to see is if you're going to bring out these big box things, we need to see characters for these vehicles.
Yes.
And I know they're doing a skiff guard. And is it Nick 2 or someone?
I think it's Nick 2 or Wolf, or it's one of the skiff guards. Okay. That looks phenomenal.
You're going to need at least 2 figures for each assortment.
Yeah.
To fill up these big vehicles, and that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to do that. You're going to have to do more, I think, more prequel figures, because you're not going to be. There's new stuff.
Prequel or classic trilogy?
Well, both.
Okay.
Because a lot of prequel stuff they don't do anymore.
Yeah.
Disney doesn't want to acquire, add that. So a lot of prequel stuff they don't want to do anymore. It's very frequent that you see it. Don't you agree with Hasbro?
No, I agree. I agree. And here's the thing, John. We collectors don't mind. If you build it, we will come. Right. I'm excited. I've shared this with you, on several occasions. I don't mind going back to the vintage collection and going on the hunt on the web and acquiring a lot of these skiff cards and these rogue aliens that were seen on the original Jabba's barge in the film. I don't mind it, as long as Hasbro commits and supports it. Like you said, if you're going to give us a sail barge, give us the characters to fill it up. Don't leave us hanging. Please don't leave us hanging. Yeah.
Don't just keep going into Last Jedi or Rogue One figures or stuff like that. And if you're going to include like Rogue One figures, because I know a lot of people didn't like it, and I know a lot of people did. Mm-hmm. Give us the whole damn group.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, give us the whole group. I mean, in 5 points of articulation, you had to go through like packs to get the whole group. This time, just give it to us. Give us the full articulation. Give us Bodhi Rook. Give us Chimlet Auze. Give us them all. You know what I'm saying? Do it in like 4 or 5 waves. That's fine. But just
you told me that. See, I never bought any of the Rogue One characters. I think the only one I ended up purchasing was Krennic and the droid from the Black Series, the 6-inch, and that was it. I didn't know that the actual Rogue One heroes were never fully all released. See, I didn't know that.
No, they didn't even do that in the 6-inch Black Series.
Wow.
You never got Bodhi Rook. You never got the pilot. He was the only one that you never got. All the other ones you got, but you never got him. But here's another thing that said, going into vintage, if you're going to use the vintage scan technology for faces, that's great, but now you're going to have to start re-releasing some of the old to get them to look good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a major thing. And getting into like the 6-inch line, if they're going to do that, because if you remember, they vintaged the 6-inch line. That last 30th, was it the 35th anniversary line they did?
They did.
Will they bring that back again? Because if you really think about it, they're going to need to show that digital technology in their faces. Because a lot of those original figures do not look like the characters.
No, and we know now that a lot of it has to do with licensing and so forth. That's why I said from the very get-go, Hasbro needs to ditch the 6-inch line. To me, Star Wars for Hasbro should not exceed the 3 3/4 inch scale. The whole 6-inch Black Series, I don't like it. I don't think it belongs in this world. I think certain properties, certain IPs that Hasbro owns should stick to the original sizes. I don't like the 3 where you're forcing collectors between 2 different size points. It didn't work for Marvel with their 3 when Marvel released their heroes in the smaller scale. Hasbro did. They didn't sell, so they ended up sticking with the Marvel Legends size, which was a big success. Certain intellectual properties belong at certain scales, and to me, Star Wars works beautifully at the 3 3/4 inch scale, specifically for the vehicles. John, that's what collectors have always wanted.
That and the play sets. Mm-hmm.
and the play sets. Again,
Yeah.
it's the scale needs to fit the property.
Yeah. I think they need to with Hasbro going forward. I think they need to hunker down and put just decrease what you have. No more 5 points of articulation.
Oh God, it's horrible. Yeah.
If you're only going vintage, then go vintage, because you can keep the packaging going as it is.
Yeah.
Keep going. Keep going with it. If the Black Series is selling, then I guess you got to keep going with it. I wouldn't either. Personally, I'm with you. I wouldn't keep going with it. But going forward, they need to do that. That's a big thing. And I hate to bring this up to dissuade people, and I don't want to, but
go ahead.
The price of these vintage figures is a little insane. They're $14.95. If you're going to start off a line, I can see maybe $12, but when you get up to almost $15, when $5 more can get you a 6-inch figure.
Yeah, that was your point. Yeah. That's why I said get rid of the 6-inch, and there wouldn't be this issue.
Yeah. And plus, you're not giving us anything for starting the line off, and you're starting the line off with repacks that you had from the Walmart series.
Yes.
So with that being said, you can't do that if you want to keep going. You have to entice people and bring them aboard. And you kind of did it with the sail barge with the yak face, and that's great. Well, then you should have started these vintage figures off at like $11.99.
I agree. Their first wave of vintage figures and characters is dismal. It's very disappointing. I agree with you 100%. We the fact that they took a shortcut to relaunch the vintage line this fast, with Snoke and Jyn Erso and these characters that were released part of the Black Series and repackaged into vintage it's kind of sneaky. Yes, that's first shame on Hasbro. They're still making mistakes. They're not perfect. I purged Star Wars, Hasbro Star Wars, years ago, and I'm back in with the sail barge. But if they don't do a good job this second time, I'll be done. I'll keep the sail barge and I will move on. It's that simple, Hasbro. It really is.
It all depends too on where the Haslab is going. Is the next one going to be Transformers? Is it going to be Marvel? Is it going to be any other property? How long will we wait for that next Star Wars property?
Well, here's the thing on that, John. We now have the luxury of fantasizing and speculating about that versus before we didn't. And that's the fun part. That's the part that's the big picture I was referring to earlier on, where a lot of these other YouTube influencers never saw. We now have that luxury. Even other YouTubers that covered the sail barge didn't see the big picture until it was fully successful, and then they took the liberty of speculating on it when they didn't believe in the campaign in the very beginning.
Right, and all of you YouTubers out there, if you get the bars, because you're going to, or you probably did, because you're doing it for reviews. So you can down it all you want, and the next thing you know, it's in your shop, or it's on your bed right next to you. It's there that you're going to do.
Yeah.
We know you're going to get it, and you're going to continue the hate, and you're going to pick out every little friggin' thing that's wrong with the barge.
Yeah. Because
we're going to see the video. Oh, I got the what is it? The Khetanna, whatever it's called.
The Khetanna. I think it's the Khetanna. Yeah.
Okay. we got it, but the bust of the Gamorrean guard on the wall, his eyes crooked. Oh, Hasbro, I paid $500 for this, and you couldn't even straighten his jaw. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what's going to do. Because a lot of you haters that hated it, meaning YouTubers, are going to get it, and you're going to find something wrong. I can tell you right now, because you're not going to come out and say, you know what, I'm going to eat my words and say that this is great.
No.
You're not going to see that.
No.
You're not going to see that.
I mean, for crying out loud, close to, again, 9,000. Close to 9,000 pre-orders. at a whopping sticker price, a lot of people panicked and jumped the gun and pulled the trigger.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people did.
Yeah.
And like you said, a lot of those are going to be those YouTubers that hate, and that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
They're going to find something you're going to see next year, come around next year. Oh, I got the sail barge, and it's crap. You know, it's this, and it's that, and it's this, and it's that. Well, you had hate for it in the beginning. You're just bringing it over.
Yeah. Do you think, I really thought I had an idea on where the Haslab could go next. But again, they made it clear in their Q&A earlier on that they can do Marvel, they can do Transformers. I honestly think they got a good thing going. I honestly think their next campaign should be Star Wars again. I really do. They have a lot of work. They've let the community down. It should be Star Wars, and then second it should be Marvel. I really do.
Well, here's their problems with other properties. When you go Marvel, and we talked about this before, when you go Marvel, what's the first thing everyone is going to want from Marvel? Okay, they have their 6-inch figures, their Marvel Legends. That's what's their bread and butter for Marvel now.
Yeah.
What does everyone want? They're going to want a Quinjet.
Of course, the Quinjet.
Okay, my thing is I would do one from the movie because it's known. People don't know them from the comics,
Yeah.
and they've changed so many times. So you're going to want a Quinjet. What are you going to want? Maybe an X-Men Blackbird because X-Men sell for Marvel Legends.
Yep.
Okay, fine. Maybe the Mansion. Okay. What people have to realize, though, is these figures are 6 inches. You're not talking about 3.75 like Star Wars. So for them to do a 6-inch Quinjet, you're going to pay money for it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. You're going to pay money for it. When it comes to Transformers, what are people going to want? Unicron, a bigger version of Unicron.
Highly detailed. It's going to be so massive you won't be.
Yeah, an Optimus Prime that's huge, that have light and sound. I don't know. You know, because I'm not a Transformers fan, so I'm not going to. I'm not.
So can we rule out the whole size excuse? And what I'm talking about is a lot of people, it's like, oh, I can't get it because of the size. And I really honestly thought early on, that the campaign wasn't going to be a success because it was too big. It was too big, and it was meant to fail because of the size. Obviously, it can't be the size.
No, it's size and price is what it comes down to. It's size and price.
Yeah.
If they do a Star Wars thing now, in the next one,
yeah.
and it's only $300, yeah, I think more people will be like, oh man, that's good. They're knocking it down.
Yeah.
But how big is it? Because you figure size and price go together.
Yeah.
Because the bigger something is, it's going to be more money.
Absolutely. $300 now in Hasbro Star Wars. I mean, you can still bring that product to retail, which we saw with the Rogue One right, with their walker, with their Bluetooth walker, right, which was a fail, right? I mean, it ended up going on sale for $99 later on.
Right. Yeah. And I don't think you'll see something like that because I think they'll give you. I don't think Haslab will skimp. I hope, and I'm saying that now.
No, I don't think they are.
I hope they don't.
Yeah. Our opinions, folks. Our opinions. We don't think they're going to skimp.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Where are they going to go? Are they going to say, oh, well, now we need a 6-inch X-Wing for the Luke? Are they going to go that big? Are they going to accompany their... we don't know because we have to assume there's a shakeup at Hasbro when it comes to Star Wars.
Absolutely.
So my thing is we don't know what their track thing is. We don't know what their expectational thing is for Hasbro as we speak. Are they going to say, listen, the old sells. So vintage, boom, we're going to go full tilt. Or are they saying something else? We don't know. Like you said, they could be saying, the 6-inch, they're not selling.
Yeah.
They could say, listen, we'll go Marvel Legend route with the 6-inch, and we'll throw Build-A-Figure pieces in there, or we'll do dioramas or something, build a diorama. You don't know what their future is going to be. You can see where it's going, and where their 6-inch line is going is pretty down the crapper. You have the Gamorrean Guard that looks phenomenal, yet it's only a Target exclusive. So, I mean, look at all these exclusives that are coming out. And I'm going to tell you something just on availability of these Star Wars waves is terrible.
Yes.
It's just terrible. I don't know if all you listeners out there who collect Star Wars Black, 2 weeks ago Target had a $9.99 sale, and they were throwing out the new figures out there for like 1 week.
Yeah.
And you had to race to a Target to see if you can get them. And I mean, yeah, 6-inch Star Wars Black Series, it's at $9.99. Hey, it's worth it.
Yeah.
But now that they're back to $19.99, you have to look at an assortment and say, do I want that? Do I want that? Do I want it? I mean, look at all the figures they keep repacking from the 30th anniversary. You got the Death Star Trooper. You have the Jawa. People have them already.
Yeah.
You know, that to me is a cheap move. Yet all your Marvel Legend waves have full new figures.
New characters to collect and chase and go on the hunt, and yeah.
So going forward, you have to streamline this. You have to have a vision statement of where your Star Wars line is going. Because there's too many lines out there now that have properties. You know, it's not major Hasbro. Like we said, and like we keep saying, you know, you have SH Figure Arts. Disney has their own set. You know, they have their good old toy box figures. They have the metal figures.
The die-cast, and all that stuff, yeah.
They got to jump back up to number one. And they got to have that vision statement to do it. They got to say, listen, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go back and entice people. And maybe with the Barge, it's the first step.
Yeah. It's clearly under new management. I mean, that's exactly what it is. And and the fact that they're reaching out to the fan base and personally inquiring, you know, asking their opinions on what they would like to see, which characters, which vehicles, on their Instagram page, on Hasbro Pulse. I can't think of the guy's name, but the guy who was asking for opinions, right behind him was the vintage Death Star playset.
Yes.
I mean,
foreshadowing,
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, is it gonna? I mean, if obviously the Sail Barge campaign was a success, so it's not far to speculate that the Death Star, a fully legacy, you know, highly detailed Death Star playset is not far down the road, you know.
And it needs it. It needs it. You know, it definitely needs a polishing because we never got one after that.
No.
So it really needs it, and it's like I said. But I think if you do something like a Death Star, I think that's a definite shoe, and I think a lot of people out there will definitely get it.
I do too.
You know,
I agree.
Unless it's like $800, and then then you're like, okay, how far are people willing to pay?
You could be pushing it. Yeah, they're at that price point. They are pushing it. I hope they don't go that high.
Yeah, I hope Hasbro's not testing people to see, well, how much will they pay for something? You know, because then you start doing that, and then you're like, okay, come on, guys. Yeah. You know, come on.
I hope, and I know that Lego is one of their competitors. I hope they're not because Lego gets away with murder, John. I mean, a $800 Lego Millennium Falcon that sold out.
Yeah.
You know, I saw the hate comments for the Sail Barge. Oh, it's a piece of plastic. Yeah. That didn't stop Lego in their successful Falcon. You know.
Well, I don't do Lego.
I don't do Lego either, but I'm not gonna pretend to understand. You know, I'm not gonna. You know, I wouldn't attack a Lego collector. I totally sympathize with them. If you love Lego, I feel for you, dude. You know, out there, you Lego collectors, because if you love Lego, I can see why you would be enticed and attracted to an $800 Millennium Falcon piece that sold out and goes for top dollar on the secondary market. My God.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And like we had said, you know, going forward, Hasbro they have to redesign these aisles and these distributor places.
Okay.
And that's what they need to do. They need to make their figures more punchy. They need to put out, and they need to make it more awesome looking, you know, graphically. You need to start giving this, like when you go into Target, how they have like the posters on the sides, and you know, that's their real estate on these toy shelves. And now that there's no Toys R Us, They need to start punching up their products, and that's what they need to do.
And you bring up a perfect point. Let's go ahead and segue to the future of toy collecting, because you said it right there. You took the words exactly what I was going to bring up. A lot of collectors get frustrated and complain about not finding the products and blaming Hasbro. That's not how retail works. I have retail experience, folks. That is not how retail works. It is not Hasbro's fault why you cannot find certain action figures in your stores. It is the store's responsibility to submit purchase orders and stock your own shelves. If you want to sell something, you buy it from the third-party vendors like Hasbro, Mattel, and so forth, and you stock your shelves up. I constantly see a lot of people on social media attack. It is not Hasbro's fault, all right? But in a sense, it maybe can be, because they haven't been producing the merchandise that collectors want to buy, and then thus it is reciprocal, where a retailer isn't going to buy new merchandise if its existing old merchandise doesn't sell. So that's how maybe you, if you know, to play devil's advocate, that's how maybe you can blame Hasbro. Hasbro has not been making the products that collectors want to buy. Thus, retailers are not submitting the purchase orders to purchase the next wave of inventory, and that's where the frustration comes in. That being said, with Toys R Us out of the picture, it is going to get extremely difficult.
Yes. No, you're absolutely right, because what's your go-to store now? Walmart? Walmart, Target. I mean, what else do you got? GameStops?
Yeah. Everybody thinks that, Target has no real reason to expand its toy aisle because Toys R Us went out of business. That's not how it works.
Even though they are getting NECA stuff. Target is getting NECA stuff. I've seen the Kratos God of War figure, and they are getting, I think they're getting an Alien figure too. So NECA's trying.
I feel sorry for NECA. I really do. I really feel sorry for NECA. I really wish they could acquire properties that collectors are really interested. I really do. I mean, it seems every time they acquire a new IP from a upcoming film, the film either tanks or does poorly at the box office. Blade Runner 2049.
Valerian.
Yeah.
Yeah, can we...
Which one?
Yeah.
Valerian, yeah.
Yeah, they did the figures for Valerian. You couldn't find them.
Blade Runner 2049.
Yep. And that was a Harrison Ford figure.
Yeah.
And the sculpt looked pretty good. Yeah. I have to admit, the face sculpt looked pretty good. But
Terminator Genesis, did they have that?
Yes, they did, but we won't go into that. Terminator's dead now. Come on now. Yeah. We know that. Terminator's dead. But getting back, with Toys R Us, it's a major toy store. And even though they talk about KB Toys coming back, KB Toys, what people have to realize is they're going to malls. Malls has more, they have to pay more for real estate. Yeah. And that's what killed them, KB, in the beginning, was the idea that they had to jack up their figures to pay for their store being there.
See, everybody. See, here's my thing with KB. Everybody thinks KB is the new savior, is the new hot shit. Oh, don't worry, KB's coming in and say, KB still has its own issues. KB is talking about opening up seasonal stores and then kind of gauging the market and see if they get. Malls are dying, dude. Yeah. I don't. Yeah. Malls are not what they used to be.
Yeah. Yeah. You just. Yeah.
I think the future for collectors, for big ticket items, is pre-ordering. I really do. I honestly think if you don't want to spend several days chasing the city or hunting through the city for certain Marvel Legend, figures, it's that convenience factor of pre-ordering. The days of the hunt are over.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though, and to all your listeners out there who are listening to this, who all you are over a certain age limit, hunting was the best, and you have to admit the idea of finding that one figure that you wanted is just an experience that is just phenomenal. And when you can just point and click right now and get it home, you lose it. You lose that Oh, what am I looking for?
That
figure.
feeling of satisfaction.
No, not that. But you lose
the thrill,
the joy of having it, and you put more to that figure. But when you go online, it's like, okay, boom, now I have it. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things that the hunt made you appreciate your collection more. It made you appreciate that figure more. And now with it being so easy to do, to order a case, you kind of lose it because it sits on the shelf more and gains dust more. Where before you were like,
but the alternative was no better though, John. I've said this. I go versus you spending weeks at a time to look for a figure that you may or may never find. That's the
yeah.
See, that's the problem. You know, it's both ways. Yeah.
Yes, but that's the thing,
yeah.
And that's what makes it ever so sweeter. So what happens is, if you can't get it within 2 to 3 months, then you're going to have to pay the high price for it.
Yeah.
I mean, at least back then we didn't have that. You know, back then if you didn't get it, you just didn't get it.
Yeah.
You know, you had to wait until they developed the internet better, and you know what I'm saying, online stores, and you had to wait for eBay. Where see, when we were hunting, it's like if you didn't get it, you didn't get it.
You didn't get it. That was it.
Yeah.
You know, and you had to rely on magazines for updates on what the next toy line was and so forth.
Yeah.
It you know, it was brutal.
And people don't realize that. People don't realize how the hunts were
in
the late 80s and the 90s
in the 90s.
2000s.
Hell, even in the early 2000s, it was still pretty still pretty aggressive.
Oh yeah, we got stories, and when we were doing it in Florida, oh my God, we have stories. But that's another podcast.
Yeah.
But saying that, people don't realize that, you know, with Toys R Us gone, it's a big staple. It's a big staple out of American. I mean, I've seen your video where you got choked up over it.
Oh, it was heartbreaking.
If anyone hasn't, you got to look. You got to go in his catalog and find Denobi's last foray into Toys R Us.
That was my last. I have not been to. There to me it's dead. I've moved on. There's no reason. I'm not gonna stop loving, you know, collecting and displaying, you know, my pieces. I've just adapted, I guess is the best word.
Right.
You will adapt, you know, and it's sad. Do you? I hope most people who are listening have come to the conclusion or understand that Amazon did not kill Toys R Us. There was a lot more to it. Okay, I hope they understand. It wasn't online. People still, Toys R Us was such a unique brick and mortar store that it was still successful. People still enjoyed visiting the Toys R Us with their kids and collectors and so forth. It was just a bad business venture back in 2005, where they were caught in a corporate leverage buyout, and I'm not going to go into detail into it. It was just bad business that it finally caught up to them, and they were swamped in debt. And Toys R Us owed a lot of the toy manufacturers money. Millions of dollars. They owed Mattel millions of dollars. So when collectors would, you know, my Toys R Us didn't have anything in stock, it was because Toys R Us was falling behind on their bills. And it's Mattel. Mattel can't keep their stuff. Again, it wasn't Mattel. Oh, Hasbro can't keep their shit stock in Toys R Us. It wasn't Hasbro. Hasbro would have been gladly send the merchandise if Toys R Us paid their bills.
Exactly. And you know, Toys R Us changed. Toys R Us was a different experience. You know, if you're over in your 40s, it was a different experience back in the day.
Yeah.
And it changed maybe mid-90s. And people don't realize.
Was it mid-90s or the early 2000s? To me, I felt the early 2000s is when it kind of took a different turn.
I guess.
Yeah.
I guess
because the 90s were awesome, dude. The 90s in Toys R Us, it was, to me, at least from what I can remember, it was pretty cool.
See, I remember it from different eras because when I lived up north, it was different. The Toys R Us's were different. Every weekend you had the characters and the outfits, and the smells were different in the store, and they were always packed full of stuff, and it was always an event going to a Toys R Us.
Wow.
And then when I moved down to Florida, it was a different story. They were still better, like you said. They were still big and packed, but it just lost that family like atmosphere.
Yeah.
And then when they were bought over for the like 18th time or whatever it was, or I mean, everyone seemed to keep buying it over, and then they kept taking over FAO Schwartz and KB Toys.
They were getting too big for their britches.
Yeah.
What I enjoyed about the '90s is that when Star Wars came back, it was such an exciting time to collect. I remember the Power of the Force collection. I remember the Toys R Us stores were always fully stocked with figures. You'd walk in, and you'd always find something. That's what I remember about the '90s and collecting. It was fun. It was just so much fun for me. And at the time too, I think you were also big into Star Trek too, as I was. I enjoyed collecting the Playmates Star Trek and Star. It was just a lot of fun back in the day.
Yeah.
It really, really was.
Yeah, and back then Playmates would only release like maybe a case or two to the store.
Yeah.
I mean, not as much as you see now. Like when you'll go in now, or when you go in, they would have tons of Toy Biz, Marvel stuff.
Yeah.
And then you'd only have like one case of Star Trek Voyager.
Yeah.
And it was harder to hunt and collect, but when you got them, you feel like it was accomplished.
Yeah.
That you had the whole crew.
Yeah, and going back to Mattel and Hasbro, I when Toys R Us announced that they were closing their stores, the Hasbro campaign, the Haslab campaign, was I think 2 weeks into it. And remember, I had mentioned to you, like, I wonder if Hasbro knew something that we the consumers did not know. This is where I was I kind of brought up that maybe Hasbro knew that ship was sinking. Maybe they had to evolve into Haslab, and that was something that was never brought up with other folks when they were talking about Haslab. Like maybe Hasbro knew that ship was sinking, and if they did not adapt, they too could have failed.
Could be.
Yeah.
It could, yeah. I think the writing was on the wall for a while.
Yeah, a lot of us did not know. I didn't know until I educated myself that Toys R Us owed Hasbro a lot of money. I didn't know that. That was halfway in the campaign. I was like, oh well, maybe Hasbro knew something.
Well, there were talks about a lot of places folding up in the mid 2000s. I mean, you had Best Buys, you have GameStops.
Yeah.
You have stuff like that, and Toys R Us was one of them. I mean, it was one of those ones frequently thrown out there that it was going to be one of those stores. And what happened was it was the first.
Yeah.
I don't know about these other retailers. I don't know about their debts, and I don't know about anything like that. I know they said that GameStop wanted to have a Toy Stop, but I can't see that working.
No.
I really can't see that working, because you're not going to have a toy store that small. You're only going to sell certain things.
Yeah.
And as we know, GameStop themselves, they're expensive. If you've ever gone into a GameStop, their figures are expensive.
Their stuff is somewhat a little bit above retail. They've been struggling. They've been dodging the axe on multiple occasions. And I'm surprised that they're still open. To be honest with you, I really am. I would have predicted they would have closed their doors, just because their whole business venture is relied on purchasing titles and then reselling it, and the fact that majority of gamers out there have now slowly started to adapt to digital downloads is one of the reasons why GameStop has been forced to adapt. They all have. Yeah. They've all kind of expanded to the collectability toy market.
Right.
Everybody has. This is a different. Times are different. Everybody has to adapt, or you will die. It's that simple. And collectors need to understand that. It's not Hasbro being greedy. It's not Mattel doing something shady. They are a business. A business to exist needs to be profitable. And you know, we voice our opinions with our wallets. I've said that from the very beginning.
Right.
You know, if you build it, you know, if you make it and we like it, we shall buy it, we shall support it. And I think the folks in Hasbro, their jaws hit the floor when the pre-orders came in at 9. I don't think they were expecting 9,000, to be honest. In my honest opinion,
No.
I don't think they were expecting to hit 9,000 pre-orders.
No.
I really don't.
But let's just hope it doesn't go to their heads where they start doing stuff stupid.
I hope, I agree too. I hope that they take their success very, what's the word I'm looking for? I hope they take their success very, not patriotic, but they humble. Let's use the word humble.
Yes.
They're humble with their success, and then they don't let it get carried away. So yeah, I agree.
And especially with the upcoming films, especially with the episode 9, if they are going to reinitialize Force Friday or do something of that nature, the products have to be nice.
Yes.
They have to be nice going forward. You just got, that's how you entice people and get them back into the fold. Even though if the movie will suck, it doesn't matter if you have vintage style cards with full articulation, the vehicles look really nice, no Nerf stuff, no gimmicks.
No.
You know, if they go back that way, then that's, you know, they have to proceed with the notion of you have to give people what they liked in the good old days.
Absolutely.
And what I mean by the good old days is, like we said, the 90s, the early 00s, you know?
It worked on me, John. I mean, I still enjoyed Star Wars merchandise, but I did purge Hasbro Star Wars out of my system, and the Sail Barge, as beautiful and as attractive it is, it brought me back in, and I supported it. And I hope that they learn from their success and they stay on the right course, the right track. I really do.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you know what they should do too? You know, bring out like 3-pack sets of vintage figures of the aliens from the Sail Barge. You know, if you're going to do that, then have them in stores. You know what I'm saying? Like anything that you sell. You know, if you're going to sell a vehicle, you need figures to man it, because what's going to happen is too many people are going to go online and eBay. And as you saw...
Oh, yeah. There is a run on the market, folks.
Yeah.
If you guys are unaware, anything to do with Jabba's Khetanna aliens or anything to do with the barge, any legitimate character that is meant to be on that barge, there is a run on the market. The secondary market has blown up. Everything from Wolf to Nikto the Gunner to even Max Rebo. Even Max Rebo, you know, has blown up. C-3PO with Salacious Crumb. It's all blown up. The skiff cars, the Power of the Force skiff that was released back in 1999, the damn thing is breaking over $100. I remember seeing that on eBay for $20 at times. It's all there's a run. People are excited, and that's, you know, it sucks if you're chasing these characters, but it's nonetheless it is exciting. It is exciting to kind of go on the hunt on the secondary market. But here's,
you know what?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was just saying what they need to do, what Hasbro needs to do is they need to maybe send out another skiff with three characters, vintage characters on it.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? As a store exclusive, like a Target exclusive,
that'd be
or a Walmart
awesome.
exclusive. Yeah, so people can get that opportunity to, you know, even, you know, it would be cool, Hasbro, if they're listening, and we know they're listening. If you can get a clear stand that hooks the barge and the skiff together. You know what I'm saying? Where you can have it where it's off to the side. You know, it'd probably be easy to do.
Oh, that would be nice. That would be cool. I already told you early on, I'll share this with the audience. I live in Las Vegas, and there's a huge sand desert out here. Yeah, I want to create the Pit of Carcoon. I'll do an unboxing out in the sun, and I will have the Pit of Carcoon, and I'll make sure that Boba Fett doesn't fly out. He will go down the hole.
So all you fans out there, foreshadowing again, a video is coming. The return to Carcoon is coming. It might take about a year, but it's coming. It's coming.
Folks, thank you for listening. This is Denobi 2. Thank you for joining me and John on this audio tour. It was a pleasure. John,
Yeah,
any last
always
words?
a pleasure.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure. If you got the Barge, I'm happy. I'm happy that everyone backed the Barge. Enjoy them, and you haters, you just gotta stop the hate. Just stop the hate and just collect what you love. So until next time, see y'all.
Folks, thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, leave your comments below. See ya.